We are continuing to talk about rehabbing. Here's some other kitchen keys that make sense. Hardware. Even if you leave the cabinets alone and you change out the hardware on the cabinets, it makes a big difference. You can give a normal or average kitchen an above average look by just changing out the hardware on the cabinets itself. The stove. Make sure that the stove is clean, but also you might want to make a change. Switch that out. Like we talked about before, even though I'm predicting the TV Gold and avocado appliances coming back in a year or so, you may not want those in your particular unit. So maybe that trend hasn't gotten here yet, so you're going to have maybe a new stove put in place there. Okay. Same thing with the faucet. We talked a little bit about that. Triangle workspace. Let me talk a little bit about that as well. In a kitchen, think of it as a triangle. Stove, refrigerator, sink. Or stove, refrigerator, workspace. When you're at a sink, think about the just the practicality of people crawling behind you. No, think about the practicality of when somebody's working at the sink, aka Heather or somebody, and somebody's working at the sink, they may be cutting vegetables there. It's nice to have maybe a pull-out garbage right there that you can just slide those peels right into the garbage. Stuff like that, the little things make a huge difference. When you're walking through that house for sale or for rent, those are the things that you should be putting together or highlighting, okay? But triangle workspaces are important. You'll see that in an upcoming project that I did.
Are carburetors still very popular down here?
Are what?
Carburetors?
Carburetors. Garbage disposal? Okay, carburetors. I think they are. I wouldn't necessarily put them in on an entry-level home, so to speak, because they might cause more trouble than they're worth. I would say put them on entry-level homes and higher. Garbage disposals. Carburetors, as Pierre calls them. Okay? Yes? I'm sorry. You okay, Pierre? I can't hear the back. Did you have something that you wanted to add? This is going on your permanent report. Yes. Composters like outside? I think they are, could be. Oh, you do? I haven't seen those on the inside. Composting on the outside, yes. Okay, so you got a mini on the inside. We haven't seen that so much here. So you're ahead of the game. You're creating a trend. Way to go. I like that. Okay. I probably wouldn't put something like that in a rental property, but maybe in one that you're going to sell, and if it's in more of a green movement kind of thing, then yes, I would do that. Okay? Yes, Pierre.
Excuse me, John. She has a carburetor as well.
You have a carburetor. Do you know why they call it that?
I don't know what's the matter here.
There's a company called Incinerator that makes those, and they call it carburetor. So that's where you're getting that. It's a garbage disposal, but Incinerator. They also make water restrictors on sinks and faucets. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Pierre, is that all you had to say? Okay, I just wanted to check. So this kitchen, this was one that I remodeled, entry-level home that I was doing a flip on. I see a lot of these white cabinets that were put in probably in the 40s and 50s. You see the hardware on here? This was on all the doors. They're real tiny little handles. You can see what happens. That's gone, right? Do you see what happens here? What? Notice everything I took out. Ooh, mood lighting. Steve, you okay with this? We don't have any rope lighting, but is it okay? All right. So, see? You see what I took out? That back whole wall there. Okay? So I took that whole wall out, sledgehammer, and we turned it into that.
Oh, yeah, that's the same one.
It's the same one from a different angle. Okay? So now you got to see how we really opened up that kitchen. It's nice to be able, triangle workspace, refrigerator, stove, Sink.
Look at that faucet.
Look at that faucet. That's right. See?
Look at how clean that sink is.
Nice. But note, that's right. Notice, people are sitting at the table. Well, not in the picture, but they could sit at the table. You're talking to them while you're working. Notice it before. Well, notice it before. You don't have that opportunity. So those are the type of things that I want you to notice in a house. I notice walls. What's that? Really?
I think so.
Hey, I'm good. So notice walls, notice workspaces, and notice area. So like yesterday, I will say this one more time. In Charles's unit, I've done a ton of these. In Charles's unit, I think what would add value to that house is a sink and a toilet so that some people could do their reading on. You know what I mean? If you got 2 toilets in that place, you might have 2 readers that rent that from you. You know what I'm saying? But in all seriousness, take that oversized closet, make it a half bath. You're going to get more value out of the house, and you're going to get a higher rental amount because of that. Okay? Perception is everything. So, but you got to have a vision. When you're walking in these places, it's hard to see that turn into that unless you're looking for that.
You're just missing one thing, a backsplash.
Yeah, well, this is, I think actually at that time we were preparing for it because they've got something up there. Yes, Steve.
On those kind of rehab retail deals, let's say out of 150 grand, is there a rule of thumb what kind of money you'd like to make? 10%, 50%? Where's the cutoff where the deal's too skinny, it's not worth the risk?
Did Mark tell you to ask that? Where's he at? No, you would know that. You get that joke, right? Anyway, it depends on the market. Now think about where we are in the market today. We're very near the bottom or at the bottom. Well, you're going to make less money doing a flip today than you're probably going to do here in this market in 2 years because the demand is probably going to be higher. It's going to get to a point where this market gets saturated. It may be already starting down that trend, but I think it's going to be a little bit longer here. You know, and there's some other variables that come into play, like the foreclosures that are going to be released and things like that. Notice I'm talking about in supply and demand, inventory and demand again, when we're talking about how much money you're going to make on your flip. You've got to understand those market components before you go and look at a project like this and say, you know, I'm going to dump 30 grand into this whole house to make 20. Or I'm going to dump 30 grand into this whole house to make 30 grand or 50 grand. Does that make sense? It's going to change on you. That doesn't make sense to you, Steve? You're going to make less money today doing a flip because there may not be as much demand as there going to be in 2 years.
What's the cutoff though, risk versus reward? Like 15 grand on a 25?
Well, if I'm putting in 30 grand, I'm hoping to make 50 grand. Somewhere around there, 45, 50. Does that make sense?
He's asking a percentage of the actual value of the house.
Say that again, Steve.
You said put in 30, make 50. Sell it for 50 or 50?
If I've got 30 grand in, all told, I'm just picking out that number, I want to make 50. I want to make almost, 2/3 of what I'm putting in there, in that particular example. Not including purchase price. Does that help you out a little bit? Okay. Now, it might get to the point where I might say, in this particular market, if I put 30 grand in this kitchen, I'm not going to get it out of the house. I'm not going to get it out of the sales price. You can't say a cookie cutter approach for everything. You've got to look at market statistics. Remember, I keep saying what's appropriate to the market. You could put in 30 grand and turn this into this, and you won't get your money out of it because it's the best house in the neighborhood. Does that make sense? So it's not a cookie cutter thing. You got to say what is appropriate to the market. You want the worst house on the best block. You don't want to turn that house into the nicest house on the block because you may have trouble getting your money out of it. Does that make sense? I'm hoping it does. Okay? Yes?
What are the costs on that rehab that we see right there?
I think I got some stats coming up. I believe. Okay? So, we talked about sinks. These are not too different. I want you to notice a couple of things though with price points. With bathroom sinks especially. This is $114, that's $59. $114, $59. Is there that huge of a difference here when you're talking aesthetics? Not very much. If you're buying it as to sell it, especially, I would go for this one, to sell it, as long as it's brand new and clean, if I'm flipping it. Now, if I'm renting it out and I'm buying and holding, when I'm looking at things like bathroom sinks, I'm probably going to choose this one if I'm selling it. Now, if I'm buying and holding, I typically like to buy all of the same type of faucets. Why is that? Easy to replace and or repair. So I might use Delta, for instance, or Price Pfister, or Glacial, or Glacier Bay rather. One of those. I might, like we use Delta. So I have Delta replacement parts for all my sinks. So I don't have to, and I keep them on hand, 3 sets. 3 sets. When they grab 2, they order 2 more. That type of thing, all right? Now, kitchen faucets, you'll notice a little bit different of a style. I think it's important to put a little bit more money on the kitchen faucet side. You will see a difference there. Bathroom faucets, no. Kitchen faucets, yes. This looks a lot cheaper than this. You're going to pay a little bit more for it. But I think in a kitchen, when you're doing a remodel like that and you're opening up walls, you're spending some money, spend the $30 or $35 more for the nicer sink. The gooseneck, okay, I think it makes a presence. Does that make sense? Okay. Know where to spend the money and know where not to. Bathrooms, no. With the sink or the faucets. Kitchens, yes. Right now, this brushed nickel, still somewhat very hot. I don't like the chrome look in either of those. I like the brushed nickel. That's just a personal preference kind of thing, all right? Any questions with that? Okay. Have you seen the sinks, by the way, that you don't have the faucets, or you have the faucets, but you can turn them on by touching them? Okay, those are cool too. I don't know if you may want to put those in your thing, but they're cool.